The music industry moves fast. Blink, and the next big thing is already yesterday's news. In this video, we'll look at 8 of the quickest rise and falls of the 2020s so far. Gayle. Gayle's meteoric rise started with one song, ABCDEFU, released in late 2021. The immature breakup anthem that struck a chord with Gen Z. What started as a TikTok trend exploded into a global hit. The song peaked at number 3 on the Billboard Hot 100, went number 1 in the UK, and accumulated over 1.2 billion streams on Spotify to date. It also earned her a Grammy nomination and a spot on nearly every rising star list of 2022. She was being hyped up as a new age Avril Lavigne, but the momentum didn't last. Gayle's follow-up singles, including You're Just Horny and Easy, failed to chart on the Billboard Hot 100. Despite solid promotional pushes and major label backing, she couldn't recreate the same viral hit. Her debut EP, A Study of Human Experience Volume 1, didn't generate much buzz outside of her fanbase. Critics began labeling her a one-hit wonder, and many questioned whether ABCDEFU was more a product of savvy TikTok marketing than a true lasting hit. To her credit, Gayle hasn't stopped releasing new music and still tours actively, but her mainstream presence has faded dramatically. Her commercial visibility has declined, making her a textbook case of the TikTok era. Going viral is easy, but longevity takes more than one rebellious hook. DaBaby. DaBaby's rise was the kind of breakout moment artists dream of. After years of building buzz in the underground rap scene, his 2019 hit Shook became an instant smash, peaking at number 7 on the Billboard Hot 100 and launching him into the mainstream. His next few years were stacked with chart toppers and viral hits, including Rockstar featuring Roddy Ricch, which hit number 1 in the US and stayed there for 7 weeks. He was occupying the pop rap lane that Ludacris dominated in the early 2000s. You could see that with his larger-than-life funny music videos. He was everywhere: radio, award shows, and festivals, and even featured on Dua Lipa's generational hit Levitating, which is now sitting on 2.2 billion streams on Spotify. But the fall came just as fast as the rise. In 2021, DaBaby's career took a hit following controversial homophobic comments he made during Rolling Loud. The backlash was swift. He was dropped from multiple festival lineups. Dua Lipa distanced herself, taking his name off their hit Levitating, and many brands severed ties with him, urging him to apologize. He doubled down initially, but then went on to apologize. But the damage was already done. His music began to lose traction, with singles like Red Light, Green Lights, and Ball If I Want To failing to chart like his earlier work. Even the deluxe version of his album Blame It On Baby couldn't restore the momentum. By 2023, DaBaby's commercial dominance had faded. His 2022 album Baby on Baby 2 debuted at number 34 on the Billboard 200, a massive drop compared to his prior number 1 albums. His monthly Spotify listeners dropped from over 30 million to around 10 million, and mainstream radio turned its back. While he remains active and still has a loyal fan base, DaBaby's time as a chart-topping household name in the mainstream seems to be over. His quick rise and sudden fall serve as a reminder of how quickly public and industry support can shift. Ice Spice. Ice Spice became the face of New York's sexy drill practically overnight. She rose to fame in 2022 after her song Munch Feeling You exploded on TikTok. The track's repetitive meme-ready hook turned it into a cultural moment and helped her land a deal with 10K Projects and Capitol Records. She followed it up quickly with her debut EP Like, which included viral tracks like Bikini Bottom and In Her Mood. That kept her momentum going and earned her a growing fan base that loved her deadpan delivery. Ice Spice's peak arguably came in 2023 when she achieved what few rappers could: 4 Billboard Top 10 hits in a single year. The Pink Panthers collab Boys a Liar Part 2, which peaked at number 3, Princess Diana with Nicki Minaj, which peaked at number 4, Karma with Taylor Swift, which hit number 2, and Barbie World with Nicki Minaj, which peaked at number 7. She also grabbed 4 Grammy nominations in 2024, including Best New Artist. Her persona as a Bronx baddie was just as memorable as her music. She became a fashion favorite, appeared in major campaigns, and was even hailed as a princess of rap by major outlets. But her momentum didn't last. Her full-length debut album Y2K, released in July 2024, debuted at a disappointing number 18 on the Billboard 200, selling just 28,000 records. Despite features from heavyweights like Travis Scott and Central C, the project was seen as repetitive and lacking growth. Her style started to feel stale, and fans weren't connecting with the new songs. On top of that, online backlash increased, with some accusing her of leaning too hard into sexualized content to stay relevant. When she posted a twerking video to tease her comeback, it felt like a desperate attempt to regain attention. I mean, she first got a little bit of internet fame after she posted her doing the Bust It challenge on Instagram, showing off her body, so she doesn't have the talent to maintain a long career, and in less than 2 years, she has gone from one of the hottest rappers to nearly forgotten. 24K Golden. 24K Golden shot to fame in 2020 with his mega hit Mood featuring Ian Dior. The song was everywhere: TikTok, YouTube, radio, every Spotify playlist, and eventually hit number 1 on the Billboard Hot 100, spending 8 weeks at the top of the chart. It was one of the defining tracks of the early COVID era, blending melodic rap with pop rock in a way that felt fresh. It has now been certified 7 times platinum by the RIAA. Following the success of Mood, 24K Golden released his debut album El Dorado in March 2021. The album included features from DaBaby, Sway Lee, and Future, and it debuted on number 22 on the Billboard 200. While it had moments, nothing on the album came close to matching the success of Mood. His next singles like Company and 321 struggled to gain any traction. In fact, he hasn't had a charting single since Mood. Despite his breakout hit, the fan base simply wasn't there. It became clear that the song was just lightning in a bottle. By 2022, 24K Golden's buzz had fizzled, and he became a classic example of an artist whose breakout hit was too big too soon. There was no time to build a foundation, and no follow-up hit to sustain interest. His pop rap style also fell out of favor quickly as the charts began favoring more drill-influenced sounds. He's still releasing music that gains some traction, but he has disappeared from the mainstream conversation entirely. Roddy Ricch. Roddy Ricch's breakout was amazing. In late 2019, he released Please Excuse Me for Being Antisocial, a debut album that skyrocketed him to superstardom. His standout single, The Box, went viral for its iconic beat and climbed to number 1 on the Billboard Hot 100, where it stayed for 11 weeks. The album itself peaked at number 1 on the Billboard 200, and Roddy was instantly being called the next big voice in hip-hop. He even fought off Justin Bieber to stay at number 1. He then scored a Grammy, worked with big names like Nipsey Hussle and DaBaby, and had the charts on lock. However, what looked like the beginning of a Drake-like career arc quickly started to wobble. Roddy's second studio album, Live Life Fast, failed to meet expectations. Though it debuted on number 4 on the Billboard 200, it lacked a defining hit and was hated by the critics for being unfocused and overly polished. Fans noted that Roddy had lost that edge that made his debut feel so personal. Even his attempts at bouncing back with Feed the Streets 3 didn't resonate. None of the singles charted as high, and his Spotify monthly listeners dropped significantly from over 40 million at his peak to about 16 million right now. Roddy is still releasing music, but he hasn't captured the same cultural moment he had in the early 2020s. He went from being the new face of hip-hop to struggling to find his place. The rapid rise was followed by a steep decline in relevance, making him one of the clearest examples of how quickly things can change in the 2020s music scene. Coi Leray. Coi Leray burst onto the scene in 2021 with a sound that was unique at the time. Her breakout single No More Parties featuring Lil Durk went viral on TikTok and peaked at number 26 on the Billboard Hot 100, quickly earning platinum certification. Coi was seen as a fresh new voice in hip-hop, and with her unique look, many expected her to dominate the new decade. She followed up with Big Purr in collaborations with Nicki Minaj and Pooh Shiesty, placing her firmly in the spotlight. However, things started to stall as her debut album Trendsetter in 2022 underperformed. Despite being packed with features and samples, the album debuted at a modest number 89 on the Billboard 200, selling fewer than 11,000 copies in its first week. Then she dropped her huge hit Players, which went viral on TikTok and brought her back to relevance. But that was short-lived. By 2024, Coi Leray found herself in an odd space, with inconsistent streaming numbers and decreasing commercial performance. While her talent is there, her rapid rise was more TikTok-fueled than fan-base driven. She has been releasing new music, but nothing seemed to stick, and she has now fallen off, with her latest singles failing to gain any traction. Masked Wolf. Masked Wolf came out of nowhere in 2021. The Australian rapper's song Astronaut in the Ocean actually dropped in 2019, but it wasn't until TikTok picked it up in early 2021 that the song exploded globally. The memorable line "What you know about rolling down in the deep" went viral, and the song reached number 6 on the Billboard Hot 100 and has since accumulated over 1.3 billion streams on Spotify, making it one of the most successful one-hit wonders of the decade. The success of Astronaut in the Ocean led to a record deal with Elektra Records and a rush of social media attention. Masked Wolf followed it up with a string of singles, most notably Gravity Gliding, which failed to gain traction. His debut mixtape Astronomical then dropped in 2021, but barely made a dent, only managing to chart in Canada. Despite attempts to ride the wave of his breakout hit, nothing really seemed to stick. With no follow-up hit, his career started fading. By 2023, Masked Wolf had disappeared from the mainstream. His Spotify monthly listeners dropped significantly, from a peak of 20 million down to 3 million. Despite collaborations with bands like Bring Me the Horizon or AWOL Nation, he struggled to build an identity beyond one viral hit. At the end of 2024, he finally dropped his debut album, The Devil Wears Prada but God Wears Gucci, which absolutely flopped, not managing to chart anywhere. His rapid rise and almost immediate fall became a textbook example of how TikTok virality doesn't always translate into a lasting career. Glass Animals. Glass Animals is a band that has been steadily building a following since their debut album Zaba in 2014, but it wasn't until Heat Waves in 2020 that they went fully mainstream. Initially a slow burner, the song didn't explode until a year after its initial release, thanks to going viral on TikTok. By early 2022, Heat Waves had become an undeniable smash, spending 5 weeks on number 1 on the Billboard Hot 100 and setting the then record for the longest climb to the top. It remains one of the most streamed songs on Spotify ever, with over 3.3 billion streams. Their album Dreamland also saw a boost, peaking at number 7 on the Billboard 200 and solidifying their presence in the US market for the first time. For a while, Glass Animals were everywhere, from festival headlines to commercials, and were even nominated for Best New Artist at the 2022 Grammys. Despite being years into their career, they finally became a crossover success. But once the Heat Waves high wore off, the band seemed to vanish. No major singles followed, even though they released their follow-up album I Love You So Fucking Much. The album peaked at number 11 on the Billboard 200 and didn't spawn any hits. They have drifted from the mainstream conversation, even though they still tour around the world. Which of the quickest rise and falls of the 2020s did I miss? Tell me in the comments below.